the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima and Carlo. On today's show, we will review the weekend Serie A action in what was a thrilling match day. The biggest story, well, there is only one huge story, and that is at Milan. It's a full-blown crisis there after Paulo Fonseca dropped both Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez for the 2-2 draw with Lazio, with possible, well, let's say probable dressing room upheaval and just 2 points from 3 games. These are really difficult times for Fonseca and Milan, so we'll be discussing that. Romelu Lukaku had the dream debut for Napoli as he came off the bench to score and inspire Napoli to a late comeback win against Parma, 2 goals in injury time. Champions Inter sent out a Scudetto message by thrashing Atalanta 4-0 thanks to an inspired Marcus Thuram. Juventus couldn't respond as they drew 0-0 at home to a much better Roma team in what was a pretty drab game. We'll also look ahead to the Nations League kicking off as Italy play their first game since the Euro 2024 disaster. We'll preview the match in Paris against France on Friday and look ahead to the prospects for the Azzurri going forward. We'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It is the same price and terms. And for all of you that listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. And also subscribe to us on YouTube and give us a like there as well. We're producing a lot of content on YouTube now that you can't necessarily get elsewhere. And we're really building a nice community there as well. So all of that really helps us to grow and do more content for you guys. Okay, let's get into today's show. So there's only one place to start, and that is the crisis, because it is a crisis. Let's not beat about the bush. That is at Milan, just 3 games into the new season, 3 games into the reign of Paulo Fonseca, and it's quite incredible that we're already here. I think when Paulo Fonseca got the job, there were a lot of reservations from Milan fans and from us in particular. We couldn't understand why Milan went for Fonseca when there was, other options, probably better options out there. But here we are, 3 games in, and it already is on the brink of completely falling apart. And we have to start off though, Nima, and then we'll talk about Fonseca more, in terms of where this leaves him going forward. We have to talk about the Theo Hernandez, Rafael Leao situation because it is very messy. What happened was, before the game against Lazio on Saturday, Fonseca decided to drop both players. Before the game, he explained it as Theo not being fully fit, 100% match fit. Leao, he didn't really give an explanation other than it's for the good of the team. So that was a clear drop-in. He's been dropped for technical reasons. And then it all got worse. During the game, both players came on with 2-1 down. They combined and Leao equalised one of his first touches of the game. Immediately after that goal, there was a cooling break and all of the Milan squad went over to the side of the pitch for, to cool down and to have a drink and to receive, a group tactical instructions from Fonseca, huddled together. And then on the other side of the pitch, completely on the other side, Theo Hernandez and Leao didn't go over. and they stood there by themselves, away from the squad. Obviously, terrible look. They've got huge criticism for it. After the game, Fonseca kind of brushed it off diplomatically, said, they've only just come on. They didn't need to come over. And Theo has said the same thing in an interview after. He said, "Look, we'd only been on for 2 minutes. We didn't need to come over.
We didn't need the cooling break.
We didn't need the cooling break, even though Theo Hernandez is there having a drink on the side of the pitch." So yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So listen, it's let's just call bullshit on all of that. Let's call bullshit on all of these explanations because it's obvious. It's obvious that there's a problem there already.
I think they knew what they were doing. Like, both Leao and Theo knew what they were doing. We didn't need a cooling break. We'd only been on for 2 minutes. We're ready to help the team and try to win this game. It's got nothing against the team or the coach. We're together. Now what we need to do is work together to win other games. People talk. They say a lot of untrue things. Rafa and I are always with the team and ready to help. That's the most important thing. And that's what Theo Hernandez told Milan TV. That's absolute bullshit. They know, everyone with a functioning brain could see what was going on. And throughout I think it was in the 70th minute or something like that, when the Milan fans, well, actually, no, it's after the game, Milan fans at the Olimpico booed the team. Milan are not in a good place. There's no doubt about that. In terms of the footballing, if you leave the tactics aside, I'm talking about the vibe around the club. I'm talking about the situazione ambientale, as they call it in Italian, the environment around the team. There's something not on. It's not rosy. It's not harmony. And Theo and Leao knew exactly what they were doing. They could have just run over. I mean, this notion that we didn't need a cooling break, we'd only been on for 2 minutes. Yeah, that may be true, but it's demonstrably shown to take a stand like that. That is a choice. You know, they
and it's not about the cooling down either, Nima. It's about this is an opportunity, showing togetherness, and it's about an opportunity to get tactical instructions together as a team. This isn't about you need a drink. Okay, no. Yes, for the reasons of health and safety and everything, that's why the Serie A brought it in. But in terms of the use, of how teams use it, this is an opportunity. This is where you have to show togetherness. It's 2-2. Listen, there's not even. We don't need to sit here and explain it. Everybody
saw it, and I think for me, the fact that Milan fans at this Olimpico jeering the squad, booing the squad, I think what Antonio Vitiello, who runs Milan News, and is more often than not pretty much the unofficial Milan person, the Milan spokesperson. He tweeted after the game, Milan go to the international break with only 2 points out of 9 available. 6 goals conceded in 3 games, many times in the same way, often conceded playing a very high defense, but above all, signs of cracks within the dressing room. Yeah. Like that, we don't need to pretend that everything is rosy here. Clearly something is wrong. It's not working. Something is not working. I'm not even talking about the tactics. I'm talking about off the pitch now. We'll get into the tactics.
Yeah.
But there is something not working. What it is, what precipitated it, all that stuff.
Well, I think I have an opinion on that, which I'll come to when we speak about Fonseca. But just to make another point about this Theo Leao situation, I think there's lots of parties to blame here. Theo, Leao, as we've just criticised them for their actions. I even said last week I don't believe that they're team players. I didn't like their attitude, not in the first 2 match days either. I just don't like their demeanour. I don't believe they behave like leaders, and that's something that I spoke about when I was very critical of them last week, and that's been shown here. So I'm sure that's all come into it. But I think from Fonseca's point of view, dropping Leao and Theo Hernandez on match day 3, when you've only got 1 point from your first 2 games, you're already under pressure, when you're a new manager at a new club and they're your big players, win, draw, or lose. And I said that to you. Remember, I sent you a voice note before the game. I said, win, draw, or lose in this game, this decision can only cause big problems going further forward. Even if they'd have won this game, I think that this was going to create cracks. Even if they only came out, later on in the season, you just cannot make this decision. You cannot drop your two biggest players 3 games into the season in the way that this has been done. The build up of them already being criticised. It's a terrible look. I mean, what's the relationship going to be like with Fonseca, Theo, and Leao now going forward? We can already see. Can that relationship be repaired? What is the dressing room going to be like? It already looks like it's divided. How does what authority is Fonseca going to have going forward now, especially after what Theo and Leao have humiliated him in front of the whole of the world? How can he possibly have authority after this? I mean, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster from that point of view. So I think if Fonseca hadn't have dropped them, he would have avoided all of this. So I think that was a big mistake from Fonseca.
I don't know why he did it. I don't know what was behind it. If there's been some problems on the side, things not working. I know there's a thing with Theo's contract as well, if I'm not mistaken, that the Milan want to extend, or there was something during the Euros, like fails me now, where became kind of a non sequitur, kind of a ridiculous talking point. But nonetheless, there was, his contract expires in summer of 2026. Milan want to extend. He doesn't seem too excited. There was some reports which I don't give too much credence to, that he wanted to leave in the summer, which was now I remember that was what the Euro thing was about. Look, there are rumblings there,
and he's unhappy about Maldini as well. Theo Hernandez,
yeah. Leao wasn't too happy either about that, if we remember. But look, it's not been handled well. That we can say. I don't want to go into Fonseca, because I think these are above these issues are above his pay grade, if I'm honest. I think Milan's restructuring evidently has not been good. Their post-Maldini restructuring has evidently not been good. And I'm not talking about the Mercato now. I'm talking about the togetherness of the team, building a unit, having everyone happy. Maldini was a master at keeping everyone happy at Milan. He was a master at embodying what Milanismo is. And everyone listened. When Maldini talks, you listen. Even Thierry Henry, you saw on TV, he started giggling like a schoolchild when Maldini starts talking. Like, that's just something. He just has that. Now, he has that charisma. He has that respect with him when he walks into a room. Zlatan was supposed to, I guess, be that role as well. It's very unfortunate, the timing of it, that he's on holiday while this happens.
Can I just say that I want to talk about this Zlatan, because I think this situation with Zlatan is ridiculous, right? First of all, he's on holiday. Why the hell is he on holiday?
Well, no. Look. I want to. Human beings have a right to go on holiday.
He shouldn't be on holiday during the season. They're on an international break next week. Go on holiday then. I'm sorry, this is ridiculous.
That's what I was thinking.
Go on holiday during the.
That's what I mean. The unfortunate how the timing of this was.
It's not unfortunate. It's unfortunate for the look, but it's why is he on holiday now?
Yeah.
Unless he has some really unavoidable family situation, something going on. I'm sorry, that's absolutely ridiculous. You've got an international break for the next 2 weeks now. Go on holiday then, or go on holiday during the summer, during Ferragosto, like the rest of them. I mean, this is
like the rest of Italy, like the rest of Italy does.
I mean, this is ridiculous. What is Zlatan? I don't even know what his position is. He's a key director, and he's a figurehead of the club, like a Maldini figurehead of the club, right? He is not behaving like a director, right? He plays that stupid game with I show speed, first one to move his game. What any serious director plays that game?
Can you imagine Marotta doing that with an influencer, like, I don't know, Giuntoli or Senor Juntoli, as he's been renamed?
And it just adds to the whole idea of this is not serious, And then there's the Champions League draw on Friday, which Zlatan is part of this big movie production, big movie they did with him, Del Piero.
What's that got to do with anything?
He was the star of that show.
Yeah, I know, but what's that got to do with this?
It's got a lot to do with it. It's got a lot to do with it. Why is he playing this? He's playing this big movie star. He's basically playing like a movie star, and he's playing off his ego and his personality, like this whole kind of like this whole image of what Zlatan's been, which is not befitting of a director trying to be serious. And he's the star of this big movie on the Friday of the Champions League draw. He's supposed to be the director. He's supposed to be this is supposed to be serious. He's not supposed to be this whole kind of this. He's become like a parody of himself now. It's a joke, when Milan are in a serious situation as they are now, 2 points from three games. The whole club is in crisis. You've got Zlatan playing games with ISO speed. You've got Zlatan being a movie star in a Champions League film ahead of the Champions League draw. It's like, I don't know. It's like Milan are using him. Maybe they're using him in a way that they think that he can bring attraction to the club.
Well, of course it is. That's exactly what they're doing.
This is not bringing success on the pitch.
The problem. Well, that's exactly it. Then I guess his role
becoming a circus. Zlatan is becoming a bit of a circus.
Then that's the thing. Then I think we shouldn't look at Zlatan as the director who we all thought he was going to be. That he was going to be.
We'll make him an ambassador then.
No, well, that's exactly it. I think he's more of an ambassador. So far, that's what it seems it is. And therefore, if he's an ambassador, I don't think, I don't see how, what role, then he shouldn't have a technical role within the club in the sense of between the club and between the players and, basically being Maldini and Ricky Massara and making everyone happy. Like, that's not his role then. Then who is that person? If we leave aside what Zlatan is doing, if he's the brand ambassador, which is fine, I think that's probably a very good idea.
Make him the brand ambassador.
Which is fine. I think that's probably a good idea to do because he's a huge name. He was very successful in the US. People loved him. He was on, talk shows and night shows doing his Zlatan stuff, and people fell in love with him. I mean, when he took out a full page ad himself when he signed for LA Galaxy and said, LA, you're welcome. Stuff like that works in America. It works in Hollywood. He's a superstar, and that's great. Then let him be that. My question is then, who is supposed to be the Maldini, the link keeping the peace in the house? Because, is it Moncada? Is it Furlani? Who is it? Because whoever it is, they're not doing their job. And that's the point. That's the point. Basically, the point I'm making here. Yeah. Zlatan is not behaving like someone that's supposed to be there. He's out there playing. Well, I don't think he is.
He's out there playing first one to move his gay games.
No, but it's like no. I'm saying like my point is that's fine if he's not doing that. If he's supposed to be more like the brand ambassador, and then sometimes when needed upon, he comes in to the dressing room. I think I tweeted it out even saying, I know he's retired, but maybe him lacing up his boots and doing a training session or two wouldn't be such a bad idea. Because one thing we do know from his career when he played is that the quality, every Swedish national team coach, even the ones who didn't like him, said he's unbelievable in training because everyone's concentration, everyone's the quality of training increases by 20-30% when he's in training because he demands that. He goes into training the way he goes into games. Maybe they need that. They need that professionalism. Maybe he should just go in there and do a training or session or two to sort this stuff. I don't, that's just, spitballing.
If he's given a serious role and a serious way, he hasn't got a title, I don't know what his title is, a serious position, which he clearly...
I think he's a senior director or senior advisor. Senior advisor, I think they call him. Senior advisor at Redbird.
Yeah, but anyway, listen. To come onto the point, the result of all this chaos is that Fonseca is now under big pressure. They've got 2 points from 3 games. The performances have been very, very bad. The second game was a disaster. Again, it was horrific against Parma. This game against Lazio, they were much more solid in the first half. They were much more organised. They were playing much more like a team in that first half, which is positive, but they weren't creating much. Then the second half, it all fell apart, and the second half was a disaster. Lazio completely dominated the second half, and Fonseca wasn't able to really make any changes until belatedly, and then luckily Leao came on and managed to get a draw. But it was horrible. He's making very questionable choices, like the first game with starting choices. The first game, obviously, with Salamakers at left back and some of those other omissions, and then this game, of course, with dropping Leao and Theo Hernandez, which has just caused chaos. That decision. He's not, like I said, not reacting well in games well at all. Let's not sugarcoat it. He risked the sack later this month. In fact, Sky Sport Italia, who are very, very accurate usually on these things, have said that he's safe for now, but there's, in the middle of the month, there's the Champions League game against Liverpool, September the 17th, and then a few days later there's the Milan derby. If they lose those two games, I think there's a very real chance, if all this stuff off the pitch is there as well, I think there's a very real chance he could be sacked.
But if he's sacked after match day 4 or 5 and one match day into the Champions League, then someone at the directorial level will have to resign, because that is an epic admission of your own incompetence. If you sack someone this early on, who it's not like Milan were desperate. They took their time in finding a purely replacement, meaning thorough thought and analysis has to have gone into this. If you get it that wrong after you've spent 4 months finding a replacement, and you have to get rid of him, not just because of the results, but because of a fractured dressing room, you should probably exit the door with him, because you're clearly incompetent. They're screwing up and making mistakes. And then there's this.
Yeah. I think everyone's screwing up here. I think obviously the it starts with the management, as we've gone through, and also the decision to hire this guy. But also Fonseca's making big mistakes. He's been, his own performance has been horrendous in these three games, starting from the decisions of who he puts on the team sheet, how he's reacting in games, the way that nobody seems to understand. Musa said after the game against Parma, the players didn't know when to press and when to stay back. I mean, that's huge,
insane.
That's hugely concerning.
That's insane comment. That is an insane comment. Yeah. You've had a full pre-season and yet you know nothing. And it's I don't know. It's not.
And good. Mentally, they also don't look good either. That was the other point I was going to make. Technical, and mentally, they.
I disagree with that slightly, because I thought the way that Milan bounced back, like first Lazio in the beginning of this game, it was really like Lazio were good in the beginning. Pavlovic made that fantastic last string save. The team gets energy. They were compact. They take the lead. They shut the game down. Halftime, Baroni makes changes that completely changes the game. Again, this is a very underrated coach technically and tactically. We have to give credit to for appointing him. And it just goes to show Marotta knows his calcio. He praised Lazio for that appointment. Turned the game on his head. They go 2-1 up, but then Fonseca reacts and brings on his players, and they equalize. And if I feel towards the end of that game, Milan could have actually won it. I think Lazio were good, we're going to talk about them later. But I actually felt that there was a reaction.
I thought that Lazio came out straight away dominant in the second half. Milan were just awful in the second half.
That's what I said. They turned on
the head. They were just giving the ball away. Lazio were creating, getting them behind. They scored the 2 goals. But it was clear even before they equalised, or certainly after they equalised, before they scored the second goal, that Milan were totally falling apart, and Fonseca needed to make changes, and he was too late. He waited until they were behind. He didn't make any subs until 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, you can divide the game like that, in the sense that Lazio started well, Milan worked themselves into it. Halftime, Baroni makes a couple of excellent changes, turns the game on its head. Milan falling apart. Then Fonseca reacts. They score. And towards the end, it felt like Milan could actually go on and win this. But so I don't think that there's a mental problem or stuff like that. I think it's more like you still see reaction from the players at this stage. when Fonseca does
Yeah.
things, and that's the only
to be
positive.
to
That's the
black
silver
out,
lining here.
to be completely be dominated for 25 minutes, after having
Yeah,
been really
that is a
solid.
worry. To fall apart like that.
Yeah,
is
that's what I
what's
meant.
like when your opposition. Yeah, I mean, when your opponent makes tactical changes like Baroni did, and you just fall apart, and it feels like the wheels come off. That's not good. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
There's always going to be points, moments in games when your opponent dominates possession or creates chances. That's just part of football. But to fall apart, the free fall, that is concerning. That is very concerning.
Well, they've got Venezia next, so they have to win that game. There's no
it's Venezia at home. I mean,
if they don't win that, then it's
But we'll see. I mean, it's just I don't know what to make of all this. You see, I think that's the biggest problem. I feel there's so much confusion around Milan.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so strange. That it's very confused. Everything feels very confused. Who's doing what? Who's supposed to do what role at the directorial and managerial level? Who's supposed to be the link between the squad and the club? Who's supposed to make sure that everyone's happy, and like the father of the house in the sense that Maldini was? Who's tactically Fonseca and the players are still not on the same page, which is not good, but it can happen when you have a new coach. Like all of these, it just feels very, very confused. And when you have confusion, you will have frustration.
Yeah, there's confusion and there's lack of control as well, and that also comes down to the manager. You've got to have manager has to have the character and personality to be able to control big personality. Some managers can do it, some managers can't do it, and there are question marks now whether Fonseca has that character and personality to have the respect of big personalities like Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez. Right now, it doesn't look like he has. This wouldn't happen if Carlo Ancelotti was coach, for example, because he's probably the best ever at managing big personalities and characters. Some managers can't do it. Like Rafa Benitez couldn't do it, for example. Every single single Berg personality that's ever worked with him despised him. Gasperini, there's question marks whether he's somebody that can handle big personalities. So some coaches can do it, some can't. And when you go into a club as big as Milan and you've got these players, you have to be able to handle it. And that's another reason why like I said last week, it's madness when you're picking a coach based purely on analytics and theory, because there's intangibles in football, like being able to handle the dressing room. There's things like that where character and personality and not stats and numbers and XGs and these kind of things come into it. And I just feel like this Fonseca appointment, like I said last week, was purely done on theory. It was done on theory.
My thing is, my problem was, as I voiced at the time, is that I feel that the theory is continuation of Pioli with a slight tweak, whilst I would have rather have brought in Sarri, who is build on what Pioli did, but renew it and refresh it. Now it just feels completely like confused. The pressing, especially, Milan are wide open. I mean, I think it was in the 55th or between the 55th and 65th minute, I think I made a note where Milan was so narrow. Like the distance between the defender and the striker, they literally fit in the frame. And Lazio were loving it. I mean, if they had actually a decent ball-playing regista, you just put the ball behind the back of the defender and you're free on goal. And stretch them, simple stuff.
They've been getting really slaughtered down the wide pockets between the fullbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, Emerson Royale, has been an unmitigated disaster. So his first two goals, he was absolutely torn apart by Nuno Tavares. And I want to talk about Lazio now. Let's talk about Lazio.
Yeah. Just one thing. I just want to give praise because I thought Pavlovic was very good.
Yeah, he was again.
He made mistakes, yes, but he I mean, it felt like it was just him for large parts of that game.
Same as against Parma. He was a one-man defence.
It was one-man defence. It's like it really feels like he was alone in defence, showing leadership. That is very important. That's a character player. I think he's going to be incredibly useful for Milan moving forward. But again, he's not the quickest in the world, and if there's going to be moments where he's going to be late if they're going to play with such a high line. because he's the one who has to make those runs. And sometimes he's not going to be able to do that. And he could get himself sent off, or he could, did you see what I'm saying? Like,
I'm not sure he's that slow, but I need to see a bit more of him.
but he's not the fastest in the world, is he?
Yeah, but
he's
I don't think
we're not talking.
From what I've seen of him, I don't think that's especially when you're next to Tomori. I think it's more of it's just a total mess organisationally.
I'm just saying that I think that yes, he's been there so far so good, but it's risky as hell.
No, he's had a good start. He's been one of the few positives so far this season, whereas Emerson has been absolutely horrific. I was watching one Milan podcast to say, how is it possible that we found a right back that's worse than Davide Calabria? I mean, anybody that's watched Tottenham, any Tottenham fan,
that wasn't hard, was it, to understand? I mean,
yeah, 20 million or just up to 20 million. But I mean, Nuno Tavares. Let's talk about Lazio. Nuno Tavares was man of the match in this game. Yeah. He was outstanding. He was a force of nature down the left flank. I always thought. I mean, he's mocked by Arsenal fans. I always thought there was a player there at Arsenal. His final ball and decision making and everything has let him down. But I mean, I thought he was outstanding in this game. He got 2 assists, and he absolutely destroyed Emerson in this game. So I think that's a real positive for Lazio going forward.
Isaksen was excellent too. I really liked him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that Lazio were very bad in the first half. They were very bad, but they were very good in the second half. I mean, I think also this wasn't a very good quality game from both teams. I think that a neutral watching this game would have thought this is not a good quality football game. But I have to say, well done to Baroni for turning things around. He saw what was wrong at half time and he made the changes, and Lazio turned it around and. They dominated most of the second half. So I think they're going to have a good season. Lazio. I think right now they're probably favourites for that last European spot. Right now.
Same. I'm somewhere there.
But Provedel had a shocker, though. I have to say that Provedel had a shocker. His fault on the Pavlovic goal. He came flying out and missed it, and then. I think he could have done better for the Leao goal as well. It wasn't the best hit shot. It was kind of straight at him, kind of went through him. It was game to forget for Provedel. But overall, I think Lazio will be quite happy. 4 points from the first 3 games, something to build on for them.
No, it was. I thought the reaction, especially the second half, those 2 changes with Marušić and Isaksen coming on, and they reacted well, and Nuno Tavares was just marauding down that flank was a weapon that they're going to use, which I think was no they were good. But I just wanted to talk on those 2 handball issues because I think they're very interesting, and I think the referee and the VAR got it right. Because now the handball rule is as follows. For the purposes of determining handball offences, the upper boundary of the arm is in line with the bottom of the armpit. Not every touch of a player's hand-arm with a ball is an offence. It is an offence if a player, A, deliberately touches the ball with their hand-arm, for example, moving the hand-arm towards the ball. B, touches the ball with their hand-arm when it has made their body unnaturally bigger. A player is considered to have made their body unnaturally bigger when the position of their hand-arm is not a consequence of or justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific position or situation. By having their hand-arm in such a position, the player takes a risk of their hand-arm being hit by the ball and being penalised. And then, of course, scores in an opponent's goal directly from their hand-arm, even if accidental, including by the goalkeeper, immediately after the ball has touched their hand-arm, even if accidental. So those 2 last are about the goals. But this is interesting because I think that when you look at both of those movements, you can't at all say there's anything deliberate with those handballs because the movement... I mean, ricochets and bouncing, and when you tackle a ball and it bounces off another and it hits your arm, I think they might have actually got it right the way that they now with the handball rule. I think the fact that it has to be a deliberate element and that the movement and they've defined making your body unnaturally bigger by saying you look at the whole situation, meaning the movement of the arm has to be justifiable, and has to be a consequence of that is justifiable by the player's body movement for that specific situation. I think when you do it like that, you release it from you make it kind of, you have to look at the whole situation if it's a handball offense, and I think they got it absolutely spot on in this. So far, I have to say, the referees, in terms of handball and their interpretation of such, in most games that I've seen, I think it's been very, very good. We've been very critical in the past, but I think so far,
we haven't had to complain about the refs
VAR,
too much. Yeah, too much so far.
No, I think they've all got. I think they've all got the same thing in the Roma game, Roma Juve game. Like, you can't say that Bremer touches the ball deliberately when it bounces like that. You just can't.
No, right, ricocheted.
But it's a ricochet. What's he going to do? I mean, he's not.
Yeah.
You can't react that quick. But from a legal point of view, which is really interesting, it's all moot, that situation. But I was having this discussion with Patrick Kendrick yesterday. I was like, from a legal point of view, I know it's a moot point, but because it doesn't clear the first hurdle. But can you say that his hand in that position, in that situation, is a consequence or justifiable by his body movement? I'm not so sure, but that's more like, academic debate. But the first hurdle obviously is not clear.
Ricochet,
it's a ricochet.
Yeah.
But it's just an interesting one. But no, I have to say, I think the referees have got it absolutely spot on so far. I really do. I think they've been very, very good. Whatever they've done, whatever tweaking they've done over the summer, so far so good. Long may it continue.
Yeah, don't hold your breath. Juventus Roma. Juventus Roma.
Bloody hell. Taking a chainsaw to me.
Juventus Roma. Not too much to talk about this game. This was a drab game. Juventus' 100% record is over. 0-0 draw with Roma. So there are no teams in Serie A now who have won all 4 games. There's 4 teams on 7 points: Inter, Juventus, Torino, and Udinese. This was the first real test for Juventus after playing Como and Verona. And I think this game showed that Juventus are still a work in progress. They played against a team that was well set up and organised. And I think that 2 halves. The first half, Juventus were really lacking in quality going forward. Both teams really just cancelled each other out. And then in the second half, Juventus brought on their new offensive signings. Coop Miners and Conceição came on at half time. Douglas Luiz came on a little bit late, although he's played already. And then Nico Gonzalez came on for his debut as well. Juventus were completely dominant second half in terms of possession and territory, but again, they struggled to create anything really of note. I think in the whole game, Juventus had 2 kind of half chances with Vlahovic. That was pretty much it. Roma created nothing at all in the entire game. This wasn't a good game. This was, Juventus are a work in progress. Juventus fans can't get too carried away by those 2 wins. What we've seen is that this is a team that is definitely going to progress and is definitely going to have a good season. We'll see how good it can be. But it's a team that, it's going to take a bit of time. There's so many new signings, over half a team. It's going to take time for them to work out what Motta wants, to understand all the patterns and the positional play. In these first 3 games, Motta has basically used players that were there from last season. He's only really used 1 or 2 outfield players, new signings. Again, in this game, just 1 new outfield player, new signing outfield player. That was Cabal, who came off at half time. And then obviously the goalkeeper, Di Gregorio. So that is a sign that, it's going to take, Motta's going to be bedding them in slowly. But overall, I think that the positives for Juventus are 3rd clean sheet in a row, 3rd game in a row where they didn't even concede a chance. And they haven't conceded a goal. So yeah, I think it's, I want to take the positives from this for Juventus.
I don't think it was that. Look, I think it was a very tactical game. It was a tactical battle between De Rossi and Thiago Motta, and it was a very interesting tactical battle to watch how they kind of try to hurt the other one. It was 2 coaches who respect each other and didn't want to give away too much. Juventus are ridiculously defensively solid. Like everyone was talking about how their defense might be their Achilles heel. They are ridiculously defensively solid. Like they look impenetrable at times. And that, coupled with the sheer raw attacking talent that they have, and we know that Thiago Motta knows how to build attacking patterns of play, that makes them, well, this is why I have them winning the Scudetto this year. I think they are, if they're looking this solid this early, when you still have these teething issues, I mean, it's just, it's going to look much better in a couple of months' time when they're flying and shooting and firing on all cylinders. So I was impressed by Juventus' solidity. Very impressed by Juventus' solidity. I was particularly impressed with the solutions in the final third to De Rossi trying to, in midfield, trying to clog it up. It was, you see how useful Koopmeiners and Douglas Luiz are going to be. I mean, you can definitely already see that. There was, I think it was a 78th minute, something like that, when Coop dropped deep, and just because of the movement, he was able to just bypass all of Roma's press and like block by playing it right down the middle between two other midfielders. It was a beautiful pass. And it was like 6 players bypassed that way because of the movement and the shape. It was very, very interesting to see. So, these two are, De Rossi and Thiago Motta are going to, they're still early in their careers, but it was, from a tactical point of view, it was very interesting to see them.
It was a very tactical game. I think the combined XG in this game was like
less than 1.
It was like 0.6 or something.
It was 0.9 together combined.
The program I used said 0.67 combined XG. So yeah, it was very, very. There were no chances, hardly at all. A couple of half chances for Vlahovic. Juventus struggled to break down Roma, the deep defence. I think that's a scenario Juventus are going to face a lot this season, and that was actually one of Motta's weaknesses with Bologna. It was breaking down deep and packed defences. And actually, the XG for Bologna last season was actually pretty low for a team that did so well. And that is one of Motta's weaknesses, I think. That's something where he needs to... I think that's something that he still needs to... in order to improve further. He's a very young coach. That is where... because the reason why Motta's teams are... and why Juventus have been so impenetrable, as you said, is because the way that they control possession... and the way that they set up their players in possession means that it's very, very difficult for the opponents to get the ball off them and then launch attacks, transitions, and to hurt Juventus on those transitions, because they're all well set up. The problem is, though, that Motta sets up his players in positions that also makes it difficult and doesn't leave them open to those attacks. And that means they don't push men forward, they don't overload as much, and that makes it sometimes makes it difficult to create chances. And I think we saw that in this game against Roma. And I think one thing that probably Juventus are missing, and they are going to miss this season, is that centre back that can offer the press break and give them the extra man. That's clearly lacking in this Juventus team, and that's why they wanted to sign Calafiori, and that's what Calafiori brought at Bologna. We saw in this game where De Rossi was neutralising it and closing off. That is when you need the man to come from defence, give you that extra man.
Exactly.
Juventus don't have that. And that is where these kind of games, we'll see. Because obviously, the Juventus' top signings, they're not fully fit. Koopmeiners wasn't fully fit, you could see. Gonzalez hasn't played at all. Douglas Luiz hasn't been fully fit, and that's why he's been used as a sub. I think after the international break, their fitness will start to build, and we'll see what they bring. They'll bring that extra quality to Juventus. But that was just a one side point. No, I think that we're going to see this scenario because Juventus are going to dominate possession. They're going to face deep defences. But that's also a positive in the sense that it shows that the respect that teams are going to start giving Juventus. They didn't get that respect in the last few seasons because they knew they were vulnerable and they knew they could get at them. I actually think that teams that come at Juventus will probably suffer more because Motta knows how to break them down with those patterns when they're open. So yeah, tactical point of view, very, very interesting. I do want to praise De Rossi, though. I do want to praise De Rossi because I think
I love him. I just love him.
He made a big call. He dropped Dybala. he changed the formation to it was 4-2-3-1/4-3-3, more of a 4-2-3-1 really. But obviously Pellegrini dropping deeper, dropping Dybala and Paredes, not playing Dybala and Soulé together, and going with Selemakers, Dobbik, Soulé up front, three new summer signings, but playing the youngster Pizzilli, 19 years old, I thought was really good actually in midfield. And these are brave choices, and they were very organised and balanced. The first half, I thought they were Juventus equal in all phases, albeit without creating anything, but they were Juventus. The second half, they were dominated in possession and territories, but again, conceded no real chances. And I think in the end, I think they deserved the 0-0 draw. I don't think anybody, certainly Juventus, I don't think Juventus did enough to win this game. I think 0-0 was the right result. So that's on De Rossi. Tactically, he worked out how to neutralise Motta. Juventus couldn't get the overloads that they've got in the last games. Juventus's pressing wasn't effective like it was in the last games. De Rossi tactically showed that tactically he's very astute. So I think well done to De Rossi in this game.
Absolutely. And I agree with you because this comes... I just want to echo everything you said, and I just want to add that this comes on the back of him being criticised these opening games for tactical... he was being questioned tactically in the Italian press. And then he comes up and turns up with that. And also, one more thing. Gianluca Mancini and Ndicka in a back four were fantastic. And that's great news for Italy national team, because if Mancini can play in a back four as the right centre back, fantastic. That's great news for Italy. They were really, really good. And his long ball passing as well, which we know, Mancini's passing is one of his strengths. I'm starting to think maybe, if he can continue like this, then he should be a starter for Italy. If Spalletti intends to continue with the back four.
Yeah,
because
we'll come to that later. I don't think he is, but we'll come to that. They were outstanding, both of them. They were rocks. They didn't put a foot wrong. They gobbled up Vlahovic, by the way, who was the big negative for Juventus. I should have added he was horrendous. His touch was awful. But Ndicka and Mancini dominated, and they were great. I thought Kone came on and had a good debut as well.
I'm glad you brought him up. I was really impressed by him.
Yeah.
His substitution, because what he did was not just offer the physical side, and the ball winning side. He's actually really technical and pretty explosive, driving the ball forwards. I think he's going to be very useful for Roma based on that. Now, I really liked Roma in this game. I thought they were really, really
the only negatives for Roma.
Talk about talk about giving an answer if when you're questioned. And
what I
like, showed.
Yeah, and he was himself as well. That's what I like about it. And this is something that I don't like about Spalletti, which we'll come on to later. Like De Rossi was himself in this game. He finally said, "You know what? I'm not going to try and fit Dybala and Soulé in together using a system which is not really me. I'm going to play my system, and then we'll see where we go from there." And he played the system he wanted to use, and it worked. The negatives is that the attack offered absolutely nothing at all. Roma didn't create a single chance in this game. They had a long shot at the end that went just wide from Angelino. That's it. So that is something that obviously the attack needs to offer something. But you've got to look at the opponent. Obviously, this was a damage limitation exercise. They wanted to go into the international break with a good result, something to build on. They have something to build on now. But they are going to have to start offering a bit more in attack, and obviously they'll have to open up more in order to do that. So will it work as well against weaker opposition? Every game's different, and to these are the different questions that will have to be answered. They passed this test. The biggest concern for Roma in not just in this game, but in the three games as a whole, is Dovbyk has offered absolutely nothing so far. He was their big signing. He's been anonymous in these last few games. There's obviously a simple reason for that, is that if you watch anybody that watched him at Girona will tell you that most of his goals came off headers off crosses. He needs crosses into the box. You're not going to get that with a 4-3-2-1, which is what they played in the first two games. You're not going to get that with Dybala and Soulé you might do with Soulé if he's playing in on the wing, but not with Dybala. So going to a 4-3-3 in this game, that will help Dovbyk. But obviously, no crosses were coming to the box because Roma was so cautious and everything. So if they're going to get the best out of Dovbyk, they're going to have to start playing to his strengths. Otherwise, he's going to be a big money failure. Don't put balls into the box. Dobbik's not going to score goals. So that is something for De Rossi. He needs to
Agreed.
put more crosses in. More crosses.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Just wanted to, now that the Mercato's closed, I want to give our...
not closed for Roma, because Hermoso's about to come in on a free transfer.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a free transfer. They're selling Smalling as well. I think, don't they have Mats Hummels as well?
They're looking at him, yeah, potentially. But I don't know if they'll bring him in now that Hermoso is
I think it's a smart... I think they've done well. I think they've done well. But no, I mean, I just want to give... I think we should give our predictions now when we're done. And it's the Mercato's close. So I've got Juve first, Inter second, Napoli third. I have all three of these teams north of 85 points. I think it's going to be tight, a 3-horse race. Then I've got Milan fourth, Roma, Atalanta, Lazio, Fiorentina, Torino, Bologna, Monza, Parma, Udinese, Genoa, Lecce, Cagliari, Hellas. And 18, 19, 20, I've got Como, Empoli, Venezia. My capocannoniere is Retegui. I think he's going to score 25, 30 goals. I think Thuram is going to be Inter's best goal scorer in the league. And as I said before the season started, and I think this might be the last summer we see, this season we see of Thuram, unfortunately, at Inter. I think PSG are going to come in for him. Yeah. I think we're going to have a situation where Leao, Kvara, Vlahovic, Thuram, Retegui all score north of 20 league goals. Coppa Italia, I've got Inter. Super Coppa, I've got Inter. Breakout player, Dennis Mann. I think he's going to be everyone's going to fight over him in January. Breakout player at the under 21 player, Jacopo Fazzini, Empoli. I think he's going to have a great season. I think Cop Miners is going to be the Serie A MVP. And I'm hoping that Michael Kayode will be the under 21 MVP. No, but I'm really annoyed with what they got Gorsens now, so Parisi and Kayode, what's the point?
No,
yeah. Anyway,
certainly Parisi. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just one thing. Dark horse to win the Serie A, Atalanta. I think Inter and Atalanta will go the farthest in the Champions League, and I think Roma are dark horses to win the Europa League, and Fiorentina have to win the Conference League. I mean, they just have to. I mean, come on. For goodness sakes.
Okay, well, there you go. He's given you the everything, every prediction on earth there. We have to move on, otherwise...
I want to know what your predictions are. Who do you think is going to win that?
I'm not going to go through everything, also because I haven't thought about it, but sprung that on me. But I agree with the top three. There's no doubt about that. Not in position order. I mean, I think, listen, Inter have to be favourites. There's no doubt about that. They've got the experience. They've won before. They've still got the best squad and the best team and the deepest squad. And Juventus are a work in progress. There's no doubt about that they're the favourites. Doesn't mean Juventus can't win. So I would have to go into Juventus, Napoli. But now fourth, I'm starting to have question marks because it could easily be a complete disaster season for Milan. So I don't know who I'm going to go with for fourth place. I'm probably going to still stick with Milan though. Even if it means Fonseca's sacked and someone else comes in, so let's go with that. But I'll give you in the Q&A episode. I'll give the rest of my predictions in the Q&A once I've had a little think about the rest.
I'll send you the tweet that I put out, and then you can just basically answer your version of that. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah. Okay, Inter, they do send out a Scudetto statement, thrashing Atalanta. Was it 4-0 in the end? I'm forgetting how many they scored. I think that they showed Juventus and the others that they are the team to beat. If you're going to win the Scudetto, you have to finish above Inter this season. Thuram's performance, though, I mean, he's started this season on fire, Nima.
No, his weakness has been his goal scoring and goal squandering, and he hit the post. Was unlucky as well. He could have had a hat trick. He's scoring those goal poacher goals now, the toe pokes. The kind of, the unsexy goals, the ugly goals, but which really are important. If he gets that into his game, we are talking about a world-class striker, because he has no other weaknesses. He's technically brilliant. He's quick. He can beat his man. We know he can shoot. The problem has been his efficiency in front of goal. He misses too much. If he's going to adapt, if he's going to fix that problem too and become the goal poacher, start scoring goal poacher goals, well, then what are his weaknesses? Because then he doesn't have any. So no, he was fantastic. He scored 4 nice brace and 2 goals. One, brace. He scored brace twice. He scored a brace twice. Once against Genoa and now against Atalanta. And I think what I liked the most was because Inter fans have been really having a complete meltdown. Oh, we don't look good. The preseason, there are problems there. We didn't sign enough players. Blah 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 blah. To which I've called bullshit on all of that, and I've said that it's obvious that Inter's preseason regime this summer was far more intense, and it was intense because it's an 11-month-long season, and so they were always going to look very, very tired going into those first couple of games. Well, now they don't train as intensely. They focus more on match fitness and tactical fitness and tactical astuteness. We're 3 games in. You're starting to see Inter fire the Inter that we're used to seeing, where they're not as tired physically and they can actually start performing on the pitch. And you saw that against Atalanta. I mean, the first opening goal, look, it's an own goal, but look at the passing and the movements. You talk about patterns of play.
Oh, the positional rotation was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dance. It's the lemon dance. It's Acerbi's a left winger. The central, the attacker is the defender. The midfielder is the winger. I mean, it's all organized. You can't keep up with this. I mean, look, if his name was, if Simone Inzaghi was Simon Inzagues and was a Spanish coach at, I don't know, Real Sociedad, everyone would be salivating at the mouth.
Inzagues.
I mean, yeah. Or if his name was Simon Zigzag and did it for Bournemouth, you'd all be wanting him to, oh, the new Pep. But he's been doing this for 12 to 18 months, even before that at Lazio as well for 5.5 years. He's really a generational coach. The stuff that he has them doing.
Super coach.
He is a super coach. He's tactically unbelievable. Like, who else does it? Well, who else plays like this? And it's not confusion. He just confuses his opponents, but his players know exactly what they're doing. Inter can hurt you in so many different ways. And that's the thing about him. He wants to be able to tactically hurt teams in pretty much so many different ways that he has them second guessing. So they can't defend against Inter. And you saw that. The way that they absorbed the pressure from Atalanta, who were poor, that's true. But the way that they switch things around, the positional changes, the movement, the ball going on like a string between them, these triangles that I keep talking about that he loves to do, creating numerical advantages in triangles, mixing it up both vertically and horizontally. No one can keep up with it.
The third man runs are very
third,
very
fourth, fifth. I mean, it's not just one. And then you have the individual brilliance. You have Nicolo Barella, who, I mean, this is the Barella I want to see this season, with no shackles on his feet, with Darmian rather than Dumfries, so that he can start expressing his true talent. And that is just unbelievably beautiful, that goal. It's just what Barella can do. I really hope Inzaghi continues with this, because we've had, since he joined Inter, he's had to take one for the team. Well, now I want the team to take one for him and let him express himself, because the talent is unbelievable. He could, I wouldn't say he's there yet, but if he continues down this road, we could be talking about the best central midfielder in the world. No doubt about it. If he continues like this, he's unplayable when he's like this.
Yeah.
His shooting is fantastic. His crossing, his movement, his passing, he has everything. And the engine, he never stops running either. So no, it was beautiful to see. I absolutely loved watching how Inter play in this when they play like this.
They were great, but Atalanta were awful, and let's be honest, that their summer's been horrific. It goes from bad to worse. I just echo what I've said. They've just lost far too many important players and characters. Coop Miners, Scamacca, Scalvini. Obviously, Lookman was out, and Hien was out, which those two being out didn't help obviously a lot in this game. But I think this game showed how far off they are as being a potential Scudetto challenger due to these losses. You can't, and this showed the gap And it's worrying. Their starts of the season, even though they had that 4-0, they've played 4 games, they've won 1 and lost. They've already lost 3 games already, 8 conceded already so far. So it is a bit concerning. The defending this season has been the biggest concern. Is their defence has been awful this season. They were abysmal on the goals here. I mean, the 3rd goal and the 4th goal especially. Just look at the defending on that. I mean, Jim City getting out leaped by Mkhitaryan. Was that the 4th goal? I can't remember. One of them anyway. Mkhitaryan won a header over one of the centre backs. I think it was Jim City.
Mkhitaryan should never win headers.
No,
ever.
Yeah. I think that at centre midfield they are lacking another natural centre midfielder next to Ederson. It's been too much. Ederson's been poor the last few games, but there's too much on him to do everything in that centre mid. It's all right when De Rossi plays next to him or Koopmeiners plays next to him. Obviously, Koopmeiners gone, but Koopmeiners has left now, and De Rossi has been having to play in defence because of the emergency situation defence a lot. So it's meant that Ederson's having to play next to someone like Pasalic, who I just think is not a centre midfielder at all. Whenever Pasalic plays centre midfielder, Atalanta seem to get torn. This team seems to just come straight through them. And I think that was... I mean, they brought Sulemana. We'll see if they can do their magic with developing him like they do with so many players. But I think that is a probable weakness, especially if they're playing 2-man centre midfields, like 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2. I think they're very exposed there. And that doesn't help the defence either. It's a bit concerning for Atlanta because I think they're also displaying a bit of a defeatist attitude. I think at the moment from what they're saying in the media, almost like they're feeling sorry for themselves. I think they knew at the end of last season that they weren't far off being a Scudetto challenger with a good market. They proudly said, "We're not going to sell anybody. We're going to keep the team together. We're going to try and improve. We're actually going to go for the Scudetto." That's what Gasperini, Percassi were saying. And then they see what happened in the summer, losing Koopmeiners, which I think was expected, but the injuries more like it. And then obviously Lookman trying to push himself out. And I think that they feel like a bit defeated by that and a bit deflated. And, they need to get the positivity back because I think that's the best thing about Atalanta. It is the positivity and how refreshing they are as a team. So it's a bit... I mean, I'm sure that they'll turn it around and I'm sure they'll have a good season because that's what they do and they always do. But we saw in this game just how far off they are, the very best.
Yeah. And Gasperini needs to get over the sulking. He's going to ruin... he needs to stop feeling sorry for himself. Yes, it's unfair. I agree with the reason, but you don't have that luxury. The sulking and the attitude around Atalanta is woe is me, and they have a point. They have been screwed over. They didn't want this. They had a outside Scudetto challenger, and I still think they are dark horses. But the season started. Stop sulking, sort it out, do what you need to do to get back to it, because the season is far from over. You can still have a fantastic season. You can still do something in Europe. I think that's the bigger chance because the football they play, as they've shown, pays off more in Europe than it does in the Serie A. And they can do something fantastic and potentially magical. So whatever it is, stop feeling sorry for yourself, suck it up and get on with it. That's how I feel about the vibe around Atalanta right now. I get that they're disappointed. I 100% understand, and I think they have a point and right to feel upset. But they need to get Lookman reintegrated. They need to stop feeling sorry about themselves, and they need to start doing what they used to do, and believing in themselves and create something and move forward instead of dwelling on the past and what could have been. That's, because Samajic, Belanova, they have fantastic players.
Yeah, they made their debuts in this game, yeah.
Yeah, look, Belanova on the right is outstanding. It's you can do something. Yeah, okay, they were decimated in defense. You can lose, fine, whatever. Misery never comes alone, right? I get that. But don't sulk. Move on.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Well, let's move on to Napoli-Parma then.
Speaking of not sulking and fighting,
the dream debut for Romelu Lukaku. This was another crazy, amazing game. It really was. And Lukaku scores on his debut. he almost scored with his first touch of his Napoli career, by the way. He was offside, it wouldn't have counted.
Yeah.
I was willing that in because that would have been an amazing story. But he made the difference in this game with his presence, I think. I mean, obviously, it was conditioned by the red card to Suzuki and then Del Prato, outfield player, going in goal. But if you actually look at the threat level of Napoli before Lukaku came on and after Lukaku came on, I mean, it was just a world of difference. And he obviously scored to make it 1-1 in the 92nd minute. And then another new signing, Neres, got the assist for the Anguissa header, 96 minutes. So I think the two big talker points this game are Lukaku is going to be a big weapon for Conte. You can already see that how they're going to play and what he's going to provide, especially next to someone like Kvara. But also, we saw the Antonio Conte spirit in this game, which I never had any concern about after that first game. I knew that would come. It's just whether the quality will come over the course of the season. And we saw that spirit. They never gave up. They were wave after wave after wave of attack in the last, ever since Suzuki with the red card, and they got the win.
Yeah, this is what I've been telling Napoli fans who are all doom and gloom and angry and everything's going to go to hell and we don't have a team, we're crap, we're this, we're that. Calm down. Conte is right on schedule. This is how it looks in the beginning of the season under Antonio Conte after everything is difficult in the mercato and it's controlled chaos. What his teams have are character, and there's a systematic way that they attack and defend. It just takes time. I mean, I can't remember, a friend of mine used to refer to Conte's teams as marching bands, right? You need every instrument to be fine-tuned for a marching band to sound good. If one instrument sounds bad, it doesn't feel right, but it takes time to get there because his football is like a marching band. And now it's actually it sounds pretty good given where we are in the season. And the reaction was fantastic. And Kvara and Lukaku, like I said, Kvara I think could potentially win the Capocannoniere because of the fact that Lukaku will play him on, and Kvara's speed and Kvara's technical ability, he's going to have lots of chances to score. So no, this is going to be good for Napoli, and they have one game a week, and to focus on. So there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be in the Scudetto race, and now they've got McTominay and Gilmore, and these are players that work for Conte. And, people say, it's they haven't bought anything like quality and compared to, but you have to look at the system. Who is coming in to do what in what system? And Conte is, if anything, a system coach. So they will be there about, and it's going to be dramatic and it's going to be very fun to watch. I mean, did you see the scenes at the 103rd minute or whatever it was? It was just, Conte. It's box office. It's very entertaining to watch. You can't stop watching it. The way his antics on the sideline, screaming and shouting.
Yeah.
It's not acting. This is who he is.
This is who he is. Yeah. Parma, though. Let's talk about.
And he is in a city that is volcanic, and I don't mean that literally and figuratively.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to have to speed up now because we're going way over. Parma, just a quick point on them. I thought they were very good again in the first half, deservedly ahead. Napoli poor in the first half, but the second half, even before the red card, Napoli were really piling on the pressure. And they withheld it. Fair play to them to the 92nd minute. Obviously, the red card to Suzuki, which I know Pecchi was unhappy about, but I think it was a red. It was a dangerous play.
Can't do that.
But it's the same as always. Parma are going to be very exciting to watch this season. They will score a lot of goals, but they are going to concede a lot of goals. Yes, they're too easy to create chances against them. Napoli had 29 shots in this game, which is kind of Eric Ten Hag Manchester United level numbers last season. Every game, Ten Hag, teams were having 20 to 30 shots every game against them last season. So that is something they need to be a bit careful of. We don't want them to be a Frosinone who were brilliant at the start of the season and then were just way too open. They have to be a little bit careful, but I think they're going to be a very exciting team to watch this season. I think they're going to do well. Victor Osimhen, just a quick point on that. We'll have more time to talk about this. I know there's a question in the Q&A about him, but what a disaster this is for all sides. For Napoli, for Osimhen, that he didn't get the transfer. His transfer to Al Ahly fell through, despite having agreed a contract of 40 million a season, and Napoli asked for an extra 5 million to the 80 million that was offered, and it fell through. And the two, Osimhen and Napoli, are furious at each other, barely on speaking terms. He's been frozen out of the squad, going to be training on his own. The Saudi window I thought was open for a month. I've just learned this is closing today.
Yeah,
so
on the 2nd of September.
Yeah, I believed at first it was supposed to be in
Me
October,
too.
but apparently what it is today. So by the time you guys are listening to this, it'll probably be just about closing. I mean, Napoli have botched this so much, Nima. I mean,
Napoli have screwed this up. I'm sorry.
What's going to happen? He can't stay in the stands for 6 months until January. But I mean, he probably is going to have to. I mean, there's nowhere else to go. Where else can he go? Turkey, Mexico. I mean, I don't know. Is Qatar still open? I don't know. I mean, it's a disaster. It's a complete, from a financial point of view, it's a disaster for Napoli. But it's. I mean, look, Conte's strong enough that he'll be able to create a squad even if he's there, being a pain in the butt for the next 6 months. But I don't have
because Conte's a bigger pain in the butt.
I don't have a concern about that. I just think it's just a shambles.
I people want to blame Victor Osimhen. I'm sorry, but when you've got 5 million here and there, it's just, what's worth it? First of all, you have to sometimes, Giuntoli took a 3 million minus Valenza on Chiesa to get rid of the problem. 5 million where you're making just plus. I mean, it's this is where De Laurentiis' ego gets in his way, and his ridiculous behavior. This is stupid because now, yes, Conte is strong enough to handle this situation, but financially, this is not good for Napoli. He is on huge wages. You're going to have I think he's the highest paid player in the league, together with Lautaro and Dusan. So you're going to have him in the stands for 6 months doing nothing because you wanted another 5 million extra. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous. It's bad business. And it's stupid. Because now he's pissed. He was going to make 40 million net a season. It's silly. It's really, really silly.
Yeah.
I wonder, though, I just have to put this out there. If Conte can get him back into the squad, think about it. Osimhen, Lukaku, Kvara, Raspadori. That's the best attacking.
Well, I don't see why you don't just use him if you've got him, but I don't know. I'm not sure those two can play together, to be honest with you.
Kvara and Osimhen can.
I don't think so. They're too,
Kvara and Osimhen?
No.
Why can't Kvara and Osimhen
They're too
play
similar.
together?
They're number nines. And you can't. I don't think you can play two number nines together.
You mean Lukaku and Osimhen?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, that's what.
I was like Kvara and Osimhen.
What did I say?
Yeah. I said Kvara, and you said, yeah, you can't. You don't think.
Oh, sorry, no, I meant Lukaku.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Osimhen, I meant. I meant Lukaku.
No, Lukaku and Osimhen won't play together. No. But Osimhen in this system, like that, it works. It absolutely works. Because
if they were in Europe, maybe, but they're playing once a week. It's I don't know. Let's just go through the rest of the fixtures. We won't have time to talk this. Venezia 0, Torino 1, Bologna 1, Empoli 1, Lecce 1, Cagliari 0, Fiorentina 2, Monza 2. Played 5, drawn 5 for Fiorentina this season. Genoa 0, Verona 2, Udinese 1, Como 0. Those are the rest of the Serie A fixtures.
So just 2 things or 3 things. Lecce 1, thank God. Fantastic game to watch. I hope you were watching that.
Of course you did.
Torino Venezia was outstanding. It was so many world-class saves. Vanja Milinkovic-Savic is insane. And Jesse Joronen was crazy too in that game. Mm-hmm. Verona and Udinese winning, impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, very impressive. While we're talking about Udinese, Maduka Okoye, we've got an interview with him that's going to drop this week. He is one of the best goalkeepers in Serie A.
Yeah.
In the last year or so, but so far this season, Udinese. How many goals has he let in so far this season? I think just the one. I mean, they're joint top of the table, Udinese.
On 7 points.
Yeah.
So great start.
Great start.
So yeah, check out our interview. It should be coming out with Wednesday, Thursday, something this week.
It was the Champions. Yeah.
It's going to be a video as well. So it's going to be an audio and a video, so that you can check it out on YouTube as well.
That's right. Champions League draw was on Friday. I'm just going to skip over that. We'll be doing a Champions League new season preview show like we did for the Serie A show. We'll do that next week. So just we'll skip that and we'll do that properly next week. Just before we finish off though with Serie A, with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. It's international break now, and it is the start of the Nations League, and it's Italy's first game since that Euro 2024 disaster. Italy are in Nations League Group A, Group 2. Nations League A, Group 2 with France, Belgium, and another team. And the format is each team will play 6 matches within their group using the home and away round-robin format in September, October, and November. The winners and runners-up of each group will go through to the quarterfinals. So there's an extra knockout round this year. Was just semi-finals last time, in which only the group winners went through. So winners and runners-up go through. The 4 third-place teams of the group will play against the 4 runners-up of League B, which is like the league below ours, because we are in the top league, and that will be for a relegation playoff to avoid relegation to League B. So yeah, that starts this week. Italy playing against France in Paris on Friday. So first of all, this is Italy's first game since the disaster of Euro 2024. Luciano Spalletti keeps his job. I know that you're a little bit concerned, and I'm starting to feel that way now as well. And I'll explain why in a bit. You're a little bit concerned about Spalletti, how long he's going to last in this job, aren't you?
Yes, because as I said in our post-mortem Euros, we can't keep doing this back and forth now. Either you play your system, your identity, your 4-3-2 or 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 hybrid, which you've been so successful with in your career, or you leave. Because evidently, what we saw in the Euros is that you're not comfortable with a 3-5-2-1 or a 3-4-2-1, and the players can't interpret it the way you want it to either. So either you do it your way, or fully your way, or you don't. This is just a waste of time. Because now the stuff that I've been hearing about him trying to do the 3-5, it's like, no, it doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work.
No, and I agree, and that's the reason why I'm feeling a little bit concerned, and I'm lacking enthusiasm a little bit for this new Italy, because I'm not sure if I see a new Italy if he's going to go with it. I just don't think he should go with a back 3, because it's not him. Like, I'm not saying that the back 3. It's not that I'm not saying that the back 3 isn't the best system for the players that we have. I think there's definitely an argument to say that it is. But my issue
which is why I wanted to play it.
But my issue is that Spalletti has made his career not through playing a back 3. So it just defeats the whole concept of having Spalletti if he's going to play a back 3. I don't know whether we're going to see the best of Spalletti if he's going to go, and then it's even worse if he's going to be flip flopping between the systems. That's even worse. But the squad squad that he's picked, and I'll read through the squad, suggests almost certainly that for this game against France, he's going to be going with the back 3. So his squad is Donnarumma, Meret, Vicario, goalkeepers, defenders: Bastoni, Bellanova, Buongiorno, Calafiori, Cambiasso, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Gatti, Ocoli from Leicester, Udogi. Midfielders: Brescianini, Fagioli, Fratesi, Pellegrini, Ricci, Tonali. And attackers, 4 attackers only: Keane, Raspadori, Retegui, Zaccagni. So the new players are Ocoli, first call up, pretty bizarre in my opinion, because he's not even been a regular for Leicester this season. Udogi, Brescianini, Tonali's back from his betting ban, and Moise Kean returns. dropped from Euro 2024 squad. Darmian, Mancini, Cristante, Fodoruncio, Barella, because he's getting no surgery, otherwise he would be in. Jorginho, Chiesa, El Shaarawy, and then the injuries are Berardi, Scalvini, and Scamacca. Those last two, of course,
And
ACLs.
Acerbi, of course, isn't called up.
And Acerbi as well. And there's no return for Locatelli, which is quite interesting, seeing as he started the season quite well. So based on that squad, I think it's clear he's going to go with a back three for this game, because there's only four attackers, and only one winger in his squad, and that's Zaccagni. So I think it's pretty clear he's going to go 3-5-2 in this game.
No, I hope he goes a 3-5-2. This is what I'm saying. I hope he goes with a 3-5-2, and I hope that he understands that, because let's remember, he did start his career playing a 3-5-2. I maintain still that the most important players in a Spalletti system is the midfield three, how he forms them, and the way that they go between a 2 and a 1, like the 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. That's the key in a Spalletti system, the way I see it. I think he can still express the football he wants to do, but by playing a formation that is 3-5-2, at least in the way it starts, because the formations are very fluid in football, and especially in Spalletti's system too, right? But my point is, it's Spalletti who doesn't seem to believe in it, as we saw in the Euros. And if he doesn't believe in it, then he shouldn't do it. Unless, of course, he's changed his mind and now all of a sudden discovered 3 months later that, actually, I can make it work in a back three. But that's great. But just for the love of God, stop this fidgeting back and forth. Make a decision, stick to it, and go with it, no matter what anyone says.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm just concerned that I don't, the way that Spalletti plays and everything that we've seen in his career, and he's in his mid-60s, that's not his system.
No.
That isn't what, how he creates his football and his patterns and everything isn't with that system. And I don't know whether we're going to see the real Spalletti using a back three. And that's, that is my concern. I'd rather him be true to himself, be who he is, play with a back four, play your system. If you fail, you fail, but don't, use a system, try to, appease others, if it's the media or if it's the players or if it's a bit of both, and do a system and then you fail anyway. It's just like, well, what was the point? You never gave yourself a try. So that's my concern. But if I'm going to go through the probable 11, then we'll go on to France. We're recording this on Monday, so we have to see what happens in training over the next few days. But I think it will be a back three. So in goal, we're probably looking at Donnarumma, unless he wants to test out one of the others. Back three, we're probably looking at Di Lorenzo, Buongiorno, Bastoni. Calafiori has not played much at all for Arsenal, so I don't see him starting. And Gatti could be rewarded for his Juventus form. He's been outstanding this season. He was, and we should have said before, he was outstanding in the Juventus game against Roma. He was Juventus' best player. But that's in a back four, not in a back three. So again, you're seeing the difference here. The wing backs, we're probably maybe Cambiasso and Udogie. If Spalletti is going to go forward with what he said at the end of the Euros, was that he wants players that are more, probably modern players with more energy, more intensity, then maybe he goes Udogie over Di Marco. I don't know, but it'll be probably Cambiasso and Udogie or Di Marco. The midfield is a really difficult one. Tonali and Frattesi have not played enough this season to suggest that they should start in this game. So logically, you're probably looking at 3 from Fagioli, Pellegrini, Ricci and Brescianini at centre midfield, you'd think. I would probably expect Fagioli to start because Spalletti likes him and he's been playing all the Juventus games. And then in attack, I think you're looking at 2 from Retegui, Keenan and Raspadori. Retegui and Keenan have started the season well in terms of goals, so maybe those 2 to start with. Obviously, there is another game, so he could mix things up. So it's a little bit uncertain right now what the team will be, but I think we can probably safely say it will be a back 3. As for France, I'll read through their squad. Areola, Magnon, Samba, goalkeepers. Defenders, Klaus, Fofana of Chelsea, Hernandez, Konate, Koundé, Ferland Mendy, Saliba, Upamecano. Midfielders, Fofana of Milan, Kante, Kone of Roma, Tchouameni, and Zaire Emery, and then forwards are Barcola, Dembele, and he said Bacala there, Dembele, Griezmann, Muani, Mbappe, Olise, and Marcus Thuram. The new players in the squad are Olise and Manu Kone. The players dropped from the Euros. Pavard, Coman, Rabiot, of course, doesn't have a club, and Giroud has retired from international football. So yeah, I mean, the talking points are Mbappe is finally off the mark at Madrid in La Liga. He struggled a little bit at the start, but he scored 2 at the weekend. And of course, Deschamps staying after, I think it probably would have been time for France to move on, to be honest. He's been there for 12 years, but he's unmovable there for France. Possible starting 11, I think we're probably looking 4-3-3 or 4-3-1-2 based on what we've seen recently from Deschamps. It depends on whether Griezmann starts. I mean, the defence, we're probably looking at Magnon, Koundé, Upamecano or Konate alongside Saliba. Theo Hernandez may not start because he hasn't really played that much enough for Milan so far this season. So I think Mendy of Madrid will start at left back. Then in midfield, you're probably looking at Tchouaméni, Kante, and maybe one other, maybe Zaire Emery. Griezmann in the hole, and then Mbappe and Thuram up front is probably what I would predict, unless they go for a winger system, in which case you take out Thuram from the hole and either play take out Griezmann from the hole and either play him in a centre midfield, or you drop him altogether, and in which case you have Mbappe and one of Dembele, Barcola or Olise on the wings. Barcola has been playing very good for PSG, so I'd probably predict he would start, and then Thuram and Muani as the central striker. So
I've got nothing to add to that.
I do want to get a prediction off you though, Nima. What's your prediction for this game?
It's not good.
I think it's not, is it?
I'm sorry, but I think they're going to be torn apart, Italy. I really do. I think they're going to be torn apart. I think there's going to be so much confusion, like we saw in the Euros. I hope I'm wrong, obviously. God, I hope I'm wrong. But I'm scared that he's going to... I'm scared Italy are going to get ripped apart. 2-3-0.
Yeah, I think they'll lose. I don't think they will be torn apart for the reason that France generally don't destroy teams. It's just the way they play. I mean, Deschamps is a bit of the Gareth Southgate of French football, isn't he? It sounds like a horrible, horrible insult. I don't mean that in terms of success. I mean that in terms of just the way they play. They're very defensive, and not defensive, but they're very methodical, and they're not that expansive, and they don't really overcommit. And also their midfield probably lacks creativity as well. The French football is really crying out for some kind of technical, creative ball play in centre midfields. They're very much kind of runners, athletic.
Whenever I see Upamecano in a Bayern Munich lineup or a France lineup,
there's always a chance.
The amount of talent they have. I'm immediately reminded of that meme of what's a polar bear doing in Texas? Like, what is he doing there? He has no business in the squad, let alone in the lineup. I just don't think he's good enough.
He is a blithering idiot.
He really is.
He's a blithering
headless
idiot,
chicken.
I think let's say
it's so rash. Like he just charges into things.
If only Italy had class attackers to make the most of it. I'm going to say 2-0 France.
2-3-0 France.
2-0 France. I don't think they'll hammer Italy because there's, like I said, just not how France play. It's not how France play.
I hope so.
Yeah. I hope so. You hope we only lose 2-0.
No, I hope we don't get hammered. That's why I hope.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So, Baggio of the week, I'm going for the Lazio tribute to Eriksen. I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
Stunning.
And just a tribute to Eriksen, I thought was really, really well done across the Italian football. That's the best of Italian football, as we say on this pod all the time. No one honours their heroes. And the fallen
Italian football.
Yeah.
It's unique. It's an aspect of Italian culture that they express in their football, which is perfected. It's nothing like it. It's always with honor, with dignity, sincere, and it doesn't feel contrived. It doesn't feel like fake. It feels honest. It feels sincere. It comes across as heartfelt, and it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. But I also have to say, Nicolo Barella's volley is just perfection. That's Badger of the week as well for me. Like, it's just, what is he doing? I mean, it's just bending that way, and the curve on the ball is just
magical. Premface of the week is Nima. Not really? Nima, not anything Nima did though. Nima appeared on TalkSport on. Actually, we both appeared on. We were both on TalkSport.
Yeah,
last week. I went on to talk about Sven-Goran Eriksson.
Who did you talk to?
Hawksby and Jacobs. It was during the afternoon. I was thinking late evening or early evening, late afternoon. Yeah. And then Nima appeared to talk about Chiesa and Chiesa's move to Liverpool and Osimhen away. Nima spoke to Rory the Tory and was quite cordial with him, apart from a little burns at the end.
I just said that I don't think Chelsea are going to win anything. He didn't like that. I said they're not going to win anything important, and he's not going to make lots of money, which is what Osimhen
you were both cordial to each other. I thought. Of course we were
cordial, but then at the end, when they said that they hoped that I was wrong about Chiesa, and I simply just said, you mean that you hope I'm as wrong as Rory was about Haaland joining the City?
Well, he laughed at that. He took that quite well.
Yeah, of course he did.
He took that quite well. Yeah. I was hoping he would bite back, but he didn't. But yes, no, the Premface has TalkSport's spelling of your name on their screen. Apparently, Nima, if I'm correct, you actually sent them your name.
Yeah.
But somehow they spelt it as Nima Tavallaey. T-I-V
phonetically correctly.
T-I-V-A-L-L-E-Y. Basically, if there was subtitles, Nima was appearing on TV and there were subtitles on the show. Like, that's how his name would appear on TV.
Exactly. Yeah, the AI captions.
Yes.
But I've got a late entry sent in by our patron Misa Kolikian. This is gold. Whilst you were talking today, we're recording this, I had to mute my mic because I was laughing uncontrollably. So Richard Keys wanted to weigh in on Declan Rice getting sent off his second yellow for time wasting on the weekend. And he tweets, "What don't you understand? He was correctly booked. It's simple. He let himself and his team down." Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The only problem is that Richard Keys quote tweeted a video tribute to Hulk Hogan whilst tweeting that out. Yes. He wanted to tweet out a video of Declan Rice getting sent off or someone commenting on that, but instead he quote tweeted a tweet from the 11th of August 2024 for an account called On This Day in the World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, that says 10 years ago in WWE Raw, a nice video tribute to Hulk Hogan on the Hulkster's 66th birthday, which includes some rarely seen footage. It's gold.
Oh, that guy, mate. That guy.
I can't stop laughing at that. It's hilarious. And then there's and the replies are just gold. Like, I can't stop laughing. One guy's going, "Quite right. Hogan's always gone into the business for himself."
Richard Keys, never be surprised by anything Richard Keys says or
and
does.
Someone's replied, somehow you've got yellow cards mixed up with yellow trunks and ended up here. Very strange.
God. Well, I can better that with Serie Ass of the week. So this is Juventus's official announcement of two Cup miners eventually joining Juventus from Atalanta, and they put up this, I don't know what the hell is this description of Coop miners on the post, and they described him as fluid as the lymph. He's just what the hell is that?
What does that mean? What does that mean? Can someone tell me what that means? I don't understand it.
I think that I googled this, and I think like the lymph is supposed to be fluid, but like no one's ever used that as an expression or to explain anything, is it?
But then,
like your lymphatic fluid, kind of. Do you know what I mean? Like the fluid that comes from your what's the word? Like your cells is maybe the right way. Like it's lymphatic fluid. Like
Okay.
But yeah.
But what's that got to do with?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to say that Coop Miners is a fluid play. It's just, again, Serie A marketing, Serie A life
What does
jackets.
it mean? Like if some, I understand that, but isn't that a bit far fetched?
It's just weird. Doesn't make any sense.
I can't find it. Have they deleted it? Because I can't find it.
Possibly, because everyone was ripping the hell out of them. Like all the replies were what? What? Juve admin on crack, like things like that. Like that's all.
Was that the Serie A account or was it the Juve account?
It's the Juventus account, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think they all hire the same company to do it for them.
It's possible, yeah.
I really think that they've hired a marketing agency or they've hired some social media marketing agency. All of them are working with the same, like Inter, Juve, all of them are just work. They're not doing it in house. They've put it on like to a company, and I think they're the ones. They've got the Italian account. They got the Serie A account. They got the Juve.
They've got a monopoly of
yeah. I think it's one of them. Like it's because a lot of this stuff sounds the same.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I agree. Yeah, I actually think you're probably right.
But yeah, no, it's they did one which I sent to you, which made me laugh.
Yeah, it was the RoboCop one.
Yeah,
it was.
But it was
RoboCoop.
Yeah, and then of course of the one with.
So he's gone from being fluid as a lymph to as robotic as RoboCop. Which one is he?
And then
is he robotic or is he fluid? Yeah. Which one is he? Oh god!
And then you've got Scott McTominay in the most with looking like a Terminator, and they've called him Mac Terminator with a robot arm. So, yeah. Okay.
Anyway, let's leave it at that. We'll be back. We'll be back this week with a Q&A, and also we'll have an interview with Maduka Okoye. That's what we've definitely got coming up this week. Okay, thanks everybody for listening.
And it'll be out on YouTube and Patreon and so on. So make sure to check those out.
Yeah, thank you everyone for listening. We'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.